Okay, so we had a interesting day today, or a busy day, or what do you want to say? So, of course, I get up at 4:30 and I edit 2 videos, one for this channel, one for the other channel, usually every day. I say usually because the other channel doesn't always get a video every day. Depends on the amount of work and that kind of stuff. But I will say there is enough videos now to get me out to November. But I think on October 1st, I'm going to stop doing 2 videos a week and go into 1 video a week. I don't know, I may even do that a little sooner. We'll see how it goes. But even Google's AI suggests when I ask the question, should I slow down in October? And it said, yeah, the people in the wintertime may not be interested in it, and I may end up losing subscribers if I just keep pumping out 2 a week. I'm going to give that a try, and that also will hopefully give me enough videos to get me mostly through the winter without worrying about having to, rush around trying to make something up. Last night at 6 o'clock, I don't understand why people call at 6 o'clock. This guy called. I am going to give this guy a pass, which I'll explain in a minute. But people, I don't know if I told you this. There was a woman who called at 9:30 at night. Now, I know a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I go to bed at 8:30 and I get up at 4:30. It works better for me. Carolyn likes to stay up and watch a movie after I go to bed, and it just works. So I go to bed at 8:30, get up at 4:30, and that gives me 2 or 3 hours with complete peace, all myself. I'm not saying that Carolyn is unpeaceful, but there's no interruptions, and I can just focus on editing my videos. The only thing that's bothering me during this time is the cat, which is sometimes an aggravation. But anyway, so people call at 9:30. I even Googled when is an appropriate time to stop calling businesses, and it's 5 o'clock. So anyway, this guy calls last night at 6 o'clock for the zero turn. I had a John Deere zero turn, and he says, well, I can't pick this up. Now remember, this guy was in a super duper hurry. He wanted it now. So I mean, I got it done like on Tuesday, I think. And that was he dropped it off on Friday. So on Tuesday, I called him up. Well, I got to go to, I don't know, Kansas or somewhere. So he says, I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll pick it up on Thursday. Well, he was still driving home at 6 p.m. Thursday. He says, is there any way you can bring it over to me? I said, yeah, but I charge for it. He says, fine, I'll give you extra money. Well, I didn't even tell him the price, I don't think. So I loaded up, as soon as we were done watching our movie last night, I loaded the zero turn up in the truck, and the winch is working fabulous. It just works great. Now, there was a smaller zero turn. It was a 48-inch, fit right in the back of the truck perfectly, no problems, zipped it right up there. And at 9 o'clock this morning, I called him up and said, hey, you want me to drop that off? I try to wait till 9 a.m. in case people are sleeping in. So anyway, I called him at 9 and said, you want me to bring it by? He said, yeah, bring it by. So we drove it over there. And he gave me a lot more than what I would have even charged. If I just said, here's the price, it was well worth the 6 o'clock call and the trip out there. I mean, it was basically double, almost double of what I normally charge to do a service on a lawnmower. So I mean, that was good money. So then I got back, and last night somebody dropped off a push mower, and those plastic carburetors are so easy to work on, so easy to rebuild. They don't get tarnished. They don't get rust or anything. They're plastic, and they don't really degrade from bad gas being in it. So you just tear it apart, and there's nothing special. You're just popping pieces off. That's all you're doing, and stick some torch tip cleaners in it, clean it up, put it in 15 minutes. The thing's up and running. I love those things. Those cheap Walmart hyper tough push mowers are so easy to work on. I could do those all day long. Got that fixed. Called him up after I got back from the dropping off the zero turn. And then what was it? Let's see. And he picked that up. Gave me my money. And then I got a call. So this guy yesterday, I picked this up yesterday, and it needs a carburetor. So I'm waiting on the carburetor. That'll be here Monday. But he calls me and says, hey, I got a a weed trimmer that needs new fuel lines. That's what he said with this one too. So he says, can I bring it over about noon today? So he brought that over, and he brought the fuel lines with the fuel filter. I didn't have to supply anything. I just put it on. It took me all of 10 minutes. I mean, it was super fast. So I'll call him later this afternoon or evening, you know, maybe 4 o'clock, and see if he wants me to wait for the weed eater until this is done. I'll probably just wait anyways. There's no big deal. But when I got back, the mailman came back with the belt on this. The first thing I had to do with this is there was a massive oil leak on the valve cover. So the guy dropped it off. His son actually dropped it off. What it is, it's an old man's nephew who contacted me about this. And so he said he's going to Colorado. He's going to have his son bring it over. So his son brought it over. I backed it off the trailer, ran it down into the, you know, where I work on the lawnmowers. And it sat there, I don't know, for 2 days until I could get to it, and I fixed the valve cover. I also fixed the drain tube so it wouldn't leak. So the oil leaks are fixed. It didn't hardly cost me anything. Some Permatex, that's all it costs. Some Teflon tape for the tube. I washed it really good. And so then the second thing he wanted me to do is work on the deck. Well, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work on this individually. I'm going to work on it separately. Because trying to get into 2 different things at the same time, I could see it was going to be a problem. So I did notice that it needed a new belt. I noticed that the day he brought it over. So I went ahead and ordered a belt because I knew I was going to have to get a belt for it. And then I was going to deal with all the other stuff because I was going to have to get it up in the air, get the deck off and all that. And I didn't want to do that just yet. Whether you agree with that or not doesn't make a difference. It's just the way I wanted to do it. So I got into it today, and I realized, oh no, the spindles are bad. There's a pulley that's bad. There's a bushing that's bad. So I ordered all that for $60. So I was going to back it out of the bay, get it out of the way. That way I can bring this one in to work on it. And stuck in reverse, and it wouldn't go. Now, oh, I forgot one other thing. When I shut this off, this is the important part. When I shut this off, the motor was twisting. You could see it twisting. It was loose from the frame, and it would make a huge clunk clunk. I mean, it was terrible. Well, if you let that happen too much, it's going to break the aluminum casting where the bolts go into the engine. It's going to break those, and when it breaks, your engine's destroyed. So I immediately tightened those up. I should mention that. I tightened those up because I didn't want that breaking on me. So anyway, I put it in reverse and it wouldn't go. So I checked that little thing in the back, make sure I got that pushed in, and it still wouldn't go. And I'm playing with it. I'm turning it on and off, just trying to figure out why it won't go in reverse. I hit the forward and it makes this huge, terrible noise. It's just a squeal. And it lurched forward, and that was it. So I had Carolyn get down on it, and I told her to hit the reverse button when I said go, because I wanted to get up underneath there and look to see if that, you know, that pin that puts it in neutral on the back, I wanted to see if it was fully engaging. So I held that with my thumb, and I said, okay, when you hit the reverse button, I don't want you running over me, just push it down and let go. And it didn't do anything. So I called the guy and I said, I'm going to stop work on this. The transmission appears to be shot. And I said, I know it worked when you brought it over, but it doesn't work now. I said, the only thing I did was I drove it from your son's trailer down into my bay. It sat there for 3 days while I worked on the valve cover and the drain tube. I haven't done anything to the transmission. I haven't done anything to the belts. Nothing. The valve cover and the drain tube are completely unrelated. Now you could argue maybe I got oil on the belt, but I didn't. I checked all that. And when I went down there and Carolyn was on it, the belt was spinning fine. The drive belt. But it just wouldn't go. It wouldn't engage. And he says, yeah, okay. So I explained to him right at the beginning when I said, look, the transmission isn't running. There's something wrong with it. And I said, before I go any further, I want to make sure that, you know, you actually want me to proceed, because if we have to get a new transmission, it's going to be $1,000. And he says, yeah, yeah, I see what's going on. Something like that, you know, kind of condescending, I guess is the best word to use. And I already knew, I was getting the sense that he thinks this is my fault somehow. I said, now, I'm not going to charge you anything for the valve cover. If you decide that you don't want me to work on it any further, don't worry about that. That's on me. He says, well, I'm just going to have to come by Monday. I'm in Colorado right now, and I'm just going to come by Monday and take a look at it, see what's going on. And he said this twice, very condescending. And I'm like, no, you're not going to get me on this. I said, well, here's the work I've done. I've sealed up the valve cover. I put Teflon tape on the tube, and the engine bolts were loose. Yeah, I know they were loose. Oh, you do? That's my thought. I didn't say that, but that was my thought. So he knew the engine bolts were loose. He brought it over here, didn't mention the engine bolts were loose, even though that could have been a catastrophic failure on me. I mean, I would have had to replace the engine. That would have been my fault. I might have been able to argue it, but it would have ruined my reputation if I didn't replace the engine. So I come back out after the phone call, and I already told him, no, just come pick it up Monday. I'm not charging you anything, just pick it up. No, we'll take a look at it. No, pick it up. Bring your trailer, pick it up Monday. I'm not going to be pushed around. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And he's trying to push me into doing something I don't think. So I come back out, and I started up again just to see, and it slowly starts to go in reverse. Now remember, Carolyn and I played with it for about a half hour, trying to get this thing to work, and it wouldn't work. And I didn't do anything. I just started up to see one more time if it would work. And the more I held it in reverse, the faster it would get. Now I know what's wrong with it. The filter in the transmission is clogged. Now this is they say unserviceable transmission. You're not supposed to be able to service it. There are people out there who will do it. I won't do it because that's a nightmare. It's too expensive. The transmission is $1,000. So I'm not going to tear into them. But it's just a little plastic filter. How do you want to explain it? Kind of like a basket. Just a basket is all it is. You may see some of these generators sometimes where you look down in the gas tank hole and it's got a little strainer. That's basically all that is in there. So you're just supposed to replace it, but you got to take the transmission off the machine, take the entire upper half of it off, and hope you don't lose any parts in the process of doing this. So I don't do them. What it is it uses a 50 you know, I think it's a 15W or 15W50. So it's a heavy oil in these transmissions. It's very heavy. So what had to happen was the oil needed to warm up. So while Carolyn and I are playing with it, the oil is warming up, and it's getting thinner all the time. Well, when it finally got thin enough, it was able to get through that clogged filter and go through. So here's what I'm thinking. They already know the transmission's bad. So when I called the guy, and he was very condescending, yeah, okay, whatever, yeah, sure, you know, that condescending type of communication, like, I don't really believe that's what happened. They know, they absolutely know that the transmission is not working correctly. And I suspect, it's just a speculation, that they're wanting to pin that on me so I'll replace it or fix it at no cost. They know it's going to be expensive. I even told them it's going to be $1,000 to replace it. So if they can blame me, then, you know, that's on me. Just like the engine bolts. They knew that they were loose. Didn't mention it. It seems to me, I'm speculating, I'm just kind of guessing, maybe this is what it is, that they were hoping that it would break on me and then I would have to replace the engine. They're wanting me to do all this service and repairs for free because they're not explaining what's going on. They said there was an oil leak and the belt keeps falling off the deck. Didn't say anything about the transmission or engine. They want the biggest things, the most expensive things fixed for free. At least that's my suspicion. But the condescending, so I mean, if they decide to come after me and, you know, cause me a bunch of trouble, I'll just go get another one of these. You can get these off of Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, same thing. LTX 1045 for $100, $200 all day long. Might need a carburetor or something to put it on. That way they can't argue that I wasn't. But I'm going to lose money on this one if they come after me. Right now I'm only out Permatex and Teflon. I did order the belt, but I can use the belt on another one. These come in all the time. So this thing has almost 900 hours on it. It's at the end of its life, and I'm sure it's not been maintained very well. I mean, they let things go. Obviously the bearings on the deck are bad. They put the belt on wrong, you know. They're just, so I feel like, for lack of a better word, they were trying to scam me, and I'm just not going to allow it. I parked it in the bay for 3 days. That's all I did. I took the valve cover off and I put some sealant on it. I mean, that's just, there was nothing I did wrong. So anyway, if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video over on my other channel. Really appreciate it. Check it out. So I hope I can inspire you. Don't get scammed. Single your dreams. Thanks for watching.